Hello, welcome to our first video for chapter 4. Here, we're going to actually derive the quadratic formula, and if you don't know what the quadratic formula is yet, that's okay. We're going to figure it out. Uh, but the way I want to approach this is thinking about the general quadratic equation like this, with some numbers A, B, and C, but we don't know what they are, so we're leaving them as letters, and we're going to find solutions of it which are going to be in terms of A, B, and C. So we're going to get like x equals something with A, B, and C in it. And to do that, we're going to complete the square on this thing, treating the A, B, and C just like you do with regular old numbers. So let's start by just subtracting the C from both sides. That gives you a negative C on the other side. And then we need to make sure that we have a coefficient of 1 in front of the x squared. So the a, we need to divide both sides by a, which leaves you with x squared plus the fraction b over a times x equals negative c over a. Now we can do the completing the square step where we add the right constant to the both sides. So that means the b over a, that coefficient of the x, that's going to be the 2p. So if you multiply both sides of this by 1/2, that will cancel out with a 2 and just leave you with p equals b over 2a. So that's the p, and then we need to square that. Which gives you b squared over 4a squared. And I need to add that to both sides. And that gives you this. Now, I'd like to actually combine this into one one thing over here. So I need both of the denominators to be the same to combine it into one fraction. So I need them both to be 4a squared. That one's already on the right, that one's already there. But on this other one, I'm going to do a times 4a to get you 4a squared. And then you can also do negative c times 4a in the top. So I multiplied both the top and bottom by the same thing, so I'm not changing the fraction. And now both of the denominators are 4a squared. So you can write this all as negative c times 4a. Let's just write that as negative 4ac plus b squared all over 4a squared. And so now here, because we completed the square properly, we should be able to write this as x plus the p quantity squared, but the p is b over 2a. So this should be b over 2a. And if you wanted to check by foiling this all out, you could make sure that you get that, but you don't have to do that. So now this is ready for you to take the square root of both sides. So that's going to give you x plus b over 2a on the left, and on the right, we're going to have the plus or minus square root of this whole thing here. And I want to make sure that my radical is big enough to include the denominator there. And this actually, we could now take this and take the square root of the top and bottom, and I'll just throw the plus or minus on the top. And why not write this as b squared minus 4ac. I don't know why, no reason. And then the square root of the 4 is 2, and the square root of a squared is a. So now I can just take that and subtract this minus b over 2a from both sides. And just write this as x equals this whole thing minus b over 2a. And fortunately, these already have the same denominator, so you can just combine them and write it as x equals, how would I write the negative b first? It's the same difference, but I'll just write it like this. Plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, so that is the solution of our original equation, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And we got it by just completing the square and dealing with all the messy fractions that you end up with along the way. So this is the quadratic formula, and it will tell you the solution of any quadratic equation, no matter what your values of a, b, or c are. And we're going to investigate how to use it. And by the way, this means that you don't have to complete the square anymore, because we just did all of the work of completing the square in an abstract way. What I mean by that is like when you deal with this abstract equation with the ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, that could be any quadratic equation. And really, I just kind of solved all of them. And no matter what your equation is, this is going to be the solution. That's the thing I really like about math, is the fact that once you learn how to do things in a more abstract way like this, use variables to stand for more than one thing, you can do a lot of really powerful stuff, like solve all of the quadratic equations that there are at the same time like this. So you still have to do some work to actually use this, because it's just messy to plug in your values of a, b, and c and evaluate this. We're gonna go into that in the next one, but that will let you get the solution of any quadratic equation that you want, and we'll do that in the next video.